Seeing as I'm not able to check out any thrift stores, flea markets, and really any game store, I thought, well, why not make another Where's the Deals video? I figured since millions of people are out of a job, that maybe they're selling video games to make up for the temporary loss of income. So I think this is gonna go one of two ways. Either people are desperate and are willing to part with games at a cheap price, or maybe sellers are charging stupid amounts for whatever it is they have. Let's take a look in this pandemic edition of Where's the Deals, where I go on Facebook Marketplace and or any other marketplace type site and search for good, bad, and criminally outrageous deals. For our first listing of the day, we have a handful of Xbox games that he's charging 2 games for $10 or $40 for everything. Problem is, a lot of these games are not really worth that 2 for $10 price. Fable, Forza, True Crime, and Oddworld are good games, sure, but all readily available at any local game shop for under $5, in some cases even less than $3. $40 for everything here would mean the games would average out to being $4 a pop. It's just not that great of a deal whatsoever. If he is selling everything for $25, maybe $30, then okay, sure, fine. Or even 2 games for $5, that would be a fair price, but 2 for $10 is not good. Here's a PlayStation 2 bundle, and it comes with the Slim, a bunch of games, controllers, and memory cards. Again, a lot of great games here, and some of which are harder to come across, like Siren, Mafia, and War of the Monsters. The rest of the games, while some of which are good, they don't really hold any value. Would I say it's worth the asking price? No, not really. War of the Monsters is a $15, maybe $20 game, depending on the condition, and Siren is more expensive at roughly $25. Even with those 2 games, this listing is hard to justify the asking price. I wouldn't necessarily call this a bad listing, as I'm sure the seller would drop the price a little, but the question is, how much would he drop that to? 7 PS4 games for $50 or $15 each. This is actually good if you bought everything together. Dot Hack GU and Kingdom Hearts 3 still have some value. Arslan Warriors is just another anime Dynasty Warriors spin-off, and the rest of the games are fairly good. Those 3 games I mentioned are worth around $20 each, so right away you're getting a good deal just from those games alone. The rest of the games here are just an added bonus, and I would definitely jump on this if it were up to me and I wanted those games. Here's a listing for a bunch of Xbox games for $30. A lot of shooters here, and of course me being a massive shooter fan, this immediately caught my attention. And for $30, this is a fantastic bundle for any shooter fan, or really anyone just getting into Xbox games for the first time. I mean, look at what's in here. A couple Call of Duty titles, Mercenaries, GTA, Tom Clancy games, an underrated series that I personally love, Brothers in Arms. So if we take the total games here, 23, that would mean that the games would average at being $1.30 when you buy everything. I mean, come on, it doesn't get much better than $1 a game. Xbox 360 games, $3 each or everything for $50. A lot of shooters here and a lot of great games. $3 a game is a good deal for really 95% of the games in this bundle. If you were to buy everything all together, the games would average out to being $1.80. When you consider the great games in here like Dead Rising, Borderlands, Battlefield, and even all those Halo games, even though they're not worth a whole lot, you're still walking away with not only a stack of really great games, but you'd be saving, I would imagine, more than $50 if you were to buy all these games separately from a game store. Assorted games for $5 to $10 each. There's a couple good deals off this first picture like Super Smash and Left 4 Dead 2, but then on the second picture, he has some Wii U games that I would definitely snag for $10 or less. I would imagine if I were to bundle up on all the Wii U games and a few others that I could possibly get a better deal. You just have to ask and play your cards right. If you are nice and respectful to the seller, they are more willing to deal with you. Now, If you are an asshole, then obviously they're not going to work with you. I shouldn't have to say this, but people forget how much of an impact it makes by simply not being a fucking dickhead in life. I actually found one of these at Goodwill a few years back for like $8 and in really great condition. This guy is asking $95 for it, saying that it retails for $150 brand new. This might seem expensive, and that he's valuing everything too high, but he's not really that wrong here. $150 is pretty much what they retail for new. However, it depends on the version. There's a Pro model that comes in black, and that one tends to go higher than the original X52, but then honestly, these controllers sell for as cheap as $60 all the way to over $200, depending on the condition and various other factors. $95 isn't far off from what's selling on eBay, so in reality, for this to be a complete boxed X52, it's not a bad deal, but is it worth spending that kind of money? Well, you be the judge of that. A Greatest Hits Castlevania Symphony of the Night for $65? At first I thought the seller was crazy because a few years ago I could swear to God this game was only selling for $35. But no, he's dead on to what it's selling on eBay for. I'm not sure what hard copy he's talking about in his details there. Like the original long boxes, I didn't think Symphony of the Night had a long box, but hell, I'm probably wrong. I've just never seen it personally. This dude's asking nearly $300 for a fat PS3 with some games and 2 controllers. This is a horrible deal. Even if this PS3 was backwards compatible, it would still be shit. The games included aren't worth anything, and the system is worth around $100, if not less these days, so you'd be paying more than double what this listing is actually worth in terms of resale value. This is a bad listing, and should be avoided at all costs. 22 PS2 games for $30. Huh, a lot of common stuff here, but I don't see Goosebumps and Warjets really ever, so that's kind of interesting. Goosebumps is around a $10 game, and Warjets I think is like $7, so that alone takes a good chunk out of this listing's overall selling price. Other than that, he has some great titles here that would make for a good bundle for really anyone. Racing games, shooters, action, all sorts of great stuff here. And for $30, that's a really good deal. Okay, so this is probably by far the worst PS2 bundle I've ever seen in my life. $500 for what exactly? Yeah, okay, fine. He has some rare and or valuable stuff here like Final Fantasy Tactics and Star Ocean, but no way in hell does that mean that this is close to being worth $500. $200 maybe if you're lucky enough to find someone willing to spend that much cash on a listing like this, but $500? You gotta be smoking crack if you think your shit's worth that much. I guess we must be getting into the territory of people overvaluing what they have. $275 for this PS2 bundle. Granted, this person has more games than the last guy, but even then, why are you asking so much? Great games here, sure, but $275 is way too much money for what's here. Most of the titles are very common, cheap titles, regardless if they're good or not. A good game does not mean that it's worth any more than a shitty game. That's just not how it works. We've seen plenty of awesome PS2 bundles in previous videos. These last two are some of the worst we've come across so far. Then we have another high-priced bundle, but this time a Super Nintendo with 11 games. The console is yellowed, and the games seem to have some dirt or something on them. The seller has good stuff here, like Mega Man X, which is my favorite Mega Man game next to the ones on the Game Boy Advance. He also has Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, as well as Super Mario World and Super Mario Kart. I'm sure the carts could be cleaned and the yellowing on the console can be reversed with patience, but in this shape, I would never pay that price. Here's another Super Nintendo bundle for less than half of what the previous seller was asking for. $90 for 15 games and the console, all in significantly better shape than the last listing. The games, while yes, not as sought after or valuable, they're still for the most part great. This seller has Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario World. She also has Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Dr. Mario and Paint, even the Game Boy adapter, which isn't exactly cheap these days. All in all, this listing is definitely better. You're getting a lot more for your money, so I can't really complain about this listing whatsoever. For our last listing of the day is a boxed Super Smash on the N64. Unfortunately, the seller is missing the manual, which of course affects the value considerably on retro games like this. Had this been complete and in great shape, it would have been worth, I believe, around $100, if not a little bit more. With it missing the manual, I want to say it's worth around 75, maybe 80 on a good day, but still, he's asking for less than what it's really worth. Although I am confused on why the listing says $60, but in the description he lists it at 70. Maybe he dropped the price later on, I don't really know. Regardless, that's going to wrap up today's video, everyone. I want to thank you, as always, very much for watching. A bit of a strange one this time around. Some cheap deals and other flat-out ridiculously overpriced listings here. There was actually more I could have talked about, like a $500 Wii listing that had really nothing of value included, and some other PlayStation stuff that was just horrifically overpriced. But I wanted to keep a balance between good and bad listings. I'm getting better at that, I feel like. Well, anyway, till next time, everyone, be careful out there, and I will see you later.